Good morning. Thank you all for joining. We are very delighted to have Phil Morgan of NC Expert here in this very short program. We have planned to offer CWNA training regularly in India and Singapore timings from August 2021 onwards. By the way, Phil Morgan is going to teach in Singapore, India time zones. It's a great opportunity for many interested candidates. This short interaction with Phil is all about understanding CWNA. After introducing Phil Morgan, we'll ask him some questions before opening the floor. Now about Phil Morgan. He's an award-winning instructor with over 30 years teaching in wireless, a renowned presenter at IT and networking conferences worldwide. He has real-world experience in wireless, networking, security, network design, IT surveying, network analysis and troubleshooting. He's one of the committee members of the IEEE, the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. He wrote many wireless courses and content for CWNP, Cisco, and Meraki. His certifications include CNE, double CCIE, MSCE, and many more. He's also a University of Wales UK graduate, top of his class, and a largest companies in the world. That's about Phil Morgan, and thank you, Phil, for taking time.
My pleasure.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So the first question is, Phil, what is CWNA?
Oh, that's a great question. CWNA is a vendor-neutral, thorough training on wireless in the Wi-Fi space. So recently we just heard that a lot of countries are opening up 6 gigahertz. So we talk about 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Basically the Wi-Fi you have at home, the Wi-Fi you have in the office, the Wi-Fi you have in restaurants, coffee shops, bars, hotels, and so on. Good old-fashioned Wi-Fi. Everything you need to know about Wi-Fi, but completely vendor neutral.
So who should pursue this course, typically?
Anybody who's working in the Wi-Fi space, anybody who's looking after wireless networks inside companies, hospitals, warehouses, factories, oil rigs, anywhere where Wi-Fi is in operation, and it's your job to look after Wi-Fi. Anybody who's thinking of getting into this space, let's say you're a network admin, okay, what can I do next? Well, you can go and work with Microsoft servers, you can go work with Cisco or Juniper routers and switches and things, or you can go work with Wi-Fi. And Wi-Fi, it's never going to end. We're never going to let the users, let me rephrase that, the users are never going to let us tie them to the desktops again. Cell phones, tablets, laptops, all sorts of devices moving around in warehouses, hospitals, enterprise, schools, home, bars, pubs, and so on and so forth. Now we rely on Wi-Fi more than ever. And with 6 gigahertz coming, AX, Wi-Fi 6 as it's called, has just been ratified and finalized. So the future of Wi-Fi is looking really, really good.
Indeed. There's Wi-Fi all over. So this particular course, what topics it covers?
So this really takes students from the beginning into the depths of Wi-Fi. As you'd expect, there's nomenclature and wording and terminology that's unique to the Wi-Fi world. This course covers all of that. So you will learn about antennas, RF, operation, how Wi-Fi connects, associates, authenticates. Of course, in the world today, a day doesn't go by without a headline about something being hacked by somebody. Security is very important, and we thoroughly cover security of Wi-Fi in this class. A lot of information about mathematics as used in the RF world. We use something called decibels and something called dBm, which is a unique way of operating. Many people may be familiar with it if they've worked on voice systems or maybe cable systems or something. But in the Wi-Fi world, it's very, very important. And we talk about decibels and how they operate in the Wi-Fi world. The RF operation, how antennas work, and how decibels and dBms work are covered exhaustively in the class. So you will leave having a really good grasp of these concepts. If anyone's familiar at all with networking, they are like IP subnetting of the wireless world. You really got to master these to operate in the Wi-Fi wireless world.
Thank you. So it covers all the initial topics, including the four-way handshake and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, we do a quick review on how security used to be and why it's not a good idea to use certain types of security today. And then we go and talk about the benefit of the four-way handshake. We talk about the new features coming out with WPA3, which gives us security whether we want it or not, as long as our infrastructure and our clients support it. We even dig into functionality and control of the Wi-Fi network. So some people may be used to configuring a Wi-Fi device at home, what's called a Wi-Fi router. Actually, it's also called a Wi-Fi modem, and we'll talk about why that term isn't really very good to be used. We talk about how you move up maybe to controllers, like from Cisco or Aruba, and then we'll move on to cloud functionality from the likes of Meraki and Mist and Extreme and so on.
So this is something which we keep hearing this question is how will the live online training help the participants?
Now that's a really good question. We have a saying in NC Expert that there's no difference between attending class or attending virtually, except if you do virtually, you can't drink our great coffee. For some reason in the industry, our coffee is somewhat famous, and I think it's good, but people seem to like it. So we really emphasize that there is no difference between attending class personally or attending class virtually. You do the same labs, you listen to the same theory from us, from myself, and so we try and make the class as similar as possible, whether you're in person or whether you're doing it virtually. We encourage students, if they can, to turn the camera on. I leave my camera on so you can see me. We like to see the students so we can pick up subtle hints. Sometimes the students look kind of like, when you try and explain the decibel math or something, I can pick up on that and say, okay, let's just do that one more time. Let's do it again. How's everybody doing? Raise your hand, give me a wave, give me a thumbs up, whatever. Let me know what it is. Let me rephrase that, sorry. Let me know where you all are and if you're struggling with something, and we can just recircle around and have one more go at it. And that way, because we encourage as many people as possible to be on video camera, and you don't have to be. If you don't want to be on video camera, that's fine. But because a lot of people like to be on video camera, we can see the feedback. They feel engaged. We even try and make it entertaining and fun if we can.
That's nice. As well as since it's a short class, you'll have a better interaction of each of the students and able to answer all their queries, and that's been your experience, correct?
We try our best to always answer questions, and we tell students, look, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I've had people ask what they thought was an obvious question, and then 6 other people have gone, yeah, can you expand on that? Because they didn't get it either. And it's easy for someone who's an expert to think something's a silly question, but what I've learned in my experience is when a student asks a question, it's because they want to learn more, and I encourage questions, and I try and leave it completely open at all times for questions. And then we even have a little bit of time at the end of the day if students are a little shy maybe, or if they want to go a bit more in depth. Because of the nature of the course, we really got to keep the course focused on the subject matter. Sometimes students raise a question which is a really good question about a subject that's not maybe covered in great detail on that particular course, or we don't go into that much depth. So we allow them to ask the question. Well, stay behind after class today and we'll talk a little bit more about that. For example, advanced design, advanced security. We've only got a certain amount of time in the class to go through the material. So some things we're like, well, that's actually covered in more depth on the analysis course or the design course or the security course. But seeing as you asked, let's talk a little bit about it. So we try our best to make sure that every question is answered from the students. And of course, they're always welcome to send an email after class, because usually they remember 2 days after class, oh, I didn't ask this question. So they're welcome to send us an email and we'll try our best to answer their question.
Yes, fantastic. Good. People, please remember, Phil Morgan is going to be there in India, Singapore timing teaching. That is a great opportunity, very good opportunity. So I've got just 2 more questions, Phil. Is the course a right mix of theory and practical knowledge?
Oh, we think so. We've tried our best to make it even more hands-on than what the standard course is. We try to give people experience of, for example, the first lab is all about AX. A lot of people may be thinking, well, the first lab is about AC and AX. And we wrote this lab back in 2003 when AC came out, and now we're upgrading it to AX. So students can experience this. But what we find is a lot of students come in now, everybody knows how to connect to a home Wi-Fi or the coffee shop Wi-Fi or whatever. So students are more and more experienced with basic connectivity. So we try and take it a little further and give them a little extra. So for example, they'll be able to configure a wireless LAN controller. They'll be able to do a little bit of experimentation with channel bonding. And we also introduce them to the concept of spectrum analysis, which is a very, very important concept to master if you want to be a wireless troubleshooter. So we try and give as much hands-on labs as we possibly can, as you said, mixing it with the appropriate theory.
So, so how do you rate CWNA among the other wireless training courses available?
Well, I teach courses for other vendors as well, and I consult for other vendors. What I like about CWNA is it's vendor neutral. It's fairly straightforward to learn how to configure something like band select for something is a very important protocol we use in Wi-Fi to encourage devices to move from 2.4 to 5 gigahertz. Without getting into too much detail, 5 gigahertz is generally better. So the band select protocol, once you understand it, it's real simple to find out from your documentation or even Googling on the internet, how does my vendor use band select? Once you understand how to use band select, then it's just simply turning that button or that feature on your system. So the benefit that CWNA has over the competition is it teaches you the theory and it doesn't focus on any particular vendor. In my experience, when you go to vendor training, you get 1 day of theory and then 3 or more days of how do I configure stuff on this vendor's equipment. Well, what CWNA gives you is in-depth, very technical knowledge of Wi-Fi, and then you go to Google, how do I turn this feature on, which is very, very straightforward.
Thank you. Thank you. So vendor neutral, the
very
course
much
is
so.
vendor neutral.
Yes.
And how does it, this particular program, how does it help?
I'm laughing because I had a student who came to class. He was a junior admin in a company and he wanted to learn more about wireless and his company wanted him to learn more about wireless. So he came to class, he came to CWNA class and he said, please forgive me, I know nothing about wireless, please teach me all you can and I'll go away and try and learn as much as I can from class and try to be the best I can be. And I thought, what a great attitude. And I met him 6 months later at Cisco Live and I said, hey buddy, how you doing? How's things? Are you still a junior admin? He's like, no, I'm one of the lead designers in the company now, because and I said to him, what happened? You got to tell me. He said, well, I was sat there one day in a meeting with a lot of the lead developers and all of us were there, and my boss sent me there to learn as much as I can. And they said, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to approach it. And I raised my hand from the back of the class and said, you need to be careful about that. You may have problems with this. I would recommend you look at this. And he said, everybody in the room was looking at me with a kind of like, who is this young person who's we've never seen before giving us advice? And they researched it and they looked into it. And yeah, he was absolutely correct. And his boss said to him, how did you know about that? He said, well, I learned it on class. They talked about this on class as one of the big issues you can have with Wi-Fi. And his boss was like, okay, all right, we're moving you over to a different team. You're going to be taking more of a design role, and you're going to be like not a junior wireless person, not a junior Wi-Fi person, but you're going to join the design team. And he said, here I am, several months later, I'm one of the lead designers. He said, simply because none of them have been to class. They think they know a lot because they've been doing it for years. But he said, just come into CWNA class at the start, jumped my career to give me a lot of knowledge. I had to go back and reread the manual a couple of times. He said, but the knowledge was there. You gave it to us in the book, in the class, and it's really, really helped me. So it basically fast forwarded his career in Wi-Fi because he got a good foundation. All over the world, it's a common analogy. If you build a house on a good foundation, it will be a strong house. And so that's what CWNA does. It gives you a really good foundation.
Thank you. So CWNA is a game changer for your career.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Phil, for your time, and look forward to the CWNA training again, Singapore and India timings, please. Phil is available in Singapore, India time.